In college, so I had to meet a big psychiatrist. So I asked him, when people come to you, patient come to you, do you tell them some regulations? So what regulations? They have a lot of patients. So yes, I don't tell any regulation. I said, what do you mean regulation? It's a regulation. Do you tell them, no illicit sex, no meat eating, no gambling? Like that, do you tell all these things? I don't tell them. I said, why? No, that is the only thing they will fall for. Because my patients are all depression cases. And this is the only support they have. I said, yes, don't mind. It's a very nice way of making money. That's all it is. The patients will never get cured. And then I was really wondering why they, such nonsense in the name of psychology. Psychology is like completely rubbish. What they have to be, completely rubbish. Other things at least, something, that also we don't give much credit. But psychology is really horrible concept they have. Because more it becomes subtle, they really struggle. As far as the gross word is concerned, there is a tremendous dilemma. Not in the showroom science. What we are taught in schools and colleges is showroom science. It's not real science. And if they teach real science, who will join the college? Suppose you go to the college and the first day they tell you, we don't know this, we don't know this, we don't know this, we don't know this. Then everybody will walk away. Just like you go to buy a TV from a showroom, correct? He tells you there are a lot of problems actually. Actually, it's a fact. That who knows, R&D scientist, not showroom fellow. Showroom fellow will only tell, the warranty is 3 years, the screen is 27-inch, this. He hides. In fact, in professional ethics, this is called unethical practice, but that's part of it. Showroom fellow will not tell. Recently we bought a camera. We have been using this camera for a long time. And then we lost a cable, which we use this for charging cable. So we went to a showroom here. They have a Sony service station. He told it cost me 3,000 rupees. A third party one I can get for, not more than 600, 700. 3,000 rupees. But when I bought the camera, he didn't tell me, you can buy a Sony, but one thing is there. Parts are very expensive. He'll never tell. That is called withholding information. In professional ethics, it's called unethical practice. But it's part of it. So he will not tell you, when you're buying a TV, there actually we have problems. He'll never tell you that. That thing is truth, but it is known only to the R&D scientists. And he's blowing his hairs out. Why it is this? True. So similarly, when the scientists are trying to understand this world, they have a lot of dilemmas. Yesterday I was telling you on that. And the top scientists, they give pointers that something is, just like we were discussing in quantum. Real trouble. They're breaking their heads since 100 years in quantum. They just don't know why it behaves the way it is behaving. Starting from Planck, from Einstein, to all the top, even. The joke is, if you see, that area has been studied by a few million scientists have got PhD over it already. And at least a dozen people have got Nobel Prize over it. But still you may question, why are they getting PhD and Nobel Prizes when they don't even able to start and state the problem? They can't even state the problem. Forget about finding a solution. That's in quantum for 100 years. Because there is something called a mechanic and something called a driver. Just like when you drive a car, you don't know how the car is functioning, okay? But still, you use the car. So you get Nobel Prize for using the car, not to know how it is functioning. They don't know actually. So similarly, actually, if you go matter, truly, nobody knows how it is functioning. Because they have two fundamentals. Newton is all like, old science. It's not fundamental. We have only two sciences now, relativity and quantum. Both are contradictory. And even both are not properly understood. And at least in relativity, we don't have paradox. In quantum, we have real paradox. And that is supposed to be the most fundamental theory. And we have paradox, we can, break our head. Why does it behave like that? In 2000 here, they wanted to make a book because 100 years of quantum. So the book began like that. This is the greatest thing devised by humanity. Greatest. Forget your Gita, everything. This is the greatest. At least can you define the problem? So the book ends with a Nobel laureate who gave the ending verses. He says that actually the fact is, this conference should be called the glory and the shame. So why glory and the shame? Glory because not one branch in science has not been affected by this concept of quantum. But the shame because we can't even state the problem. Forget about finding a solution. So at least they are honest to that level. When it comes to psychology, it's the biggest, still more bigger. Because here what happens, they have a problem in understanding matter. If you go, there are three things in existence: matter, self, that is consciousness, and God. Now science has per se dedicated itself to study only matter. We didn't do them, but that's their determination. But then why is it that people give value to them? Because Kali Yuga people are first class Shudras, dull-headed idiots, that people of Kali Yuga. They're only interested in comforts, physical comforts. This common sense does not strike them. That many people are there with all the physical comforts, still they are sad. They're depressed. Still they commit suicide with all the physical comforts. That actress who committed suicide in Bombay, whether any physical comfort was missing? No. Okay. So many cases we can take. So even with all the physical comfort, people are dying. That doesn't strike them. They are so dull. Okay. You say the mark of success, you take anybody. Even the parents sometimes are guilty of that, even though they wish well, but you should know what to wish for. No, they will keep comparing. You are doing here, your friend there is doing that. Hare Baba, I am chanting Hare Krishna, I am feeling so peaceful. There are no marks for that. No marks for that. Only marks here. He's here. As if that is the only success in life. Srila Prabhupada, they said, I am so fortunate, I had a beautiful father. And, whole life, he used to every day bring a sannyasi to the home. Whoever it may be, some sannyasi. And say, feed him nicely. And next to his friends, please bless my son. What do you want? I want him to become a great servant of the Radharani. Always he asked. And he said, my father was doing some business that was just, namesake. His main business was Ghanti only. He will go to the office, his so-called shop, his worship will be going on. And then evening again worship. By the way, some business to maintain the money. Anyway. And then later, there was an opportunity came. Previously, America was not the prime. England was the prime. England was the king. That was Great Britain. Now there is nothing greater than India's GDP has gone ahead of India. So, so everybody said, they were from, was not poor, they were rich. So they could arrange for his trip to England to study law. That was the thing in that time. Just like today is, to become a big doctor or something. That is the thing. That time was, or to study abroad, do MS abroad, engineering. That time was to become lawyer. Therefore, even in India's top politicians mostly were lawyers studying in England. That was the thing. And so Prabhupada, and another thing was that if you go to England and study law and bring a white wife, that was still special. Still special. That was the society. So therefore Prabhupada's father, when he came to know this proposal and arrangements are being made, his mother of Prabhupada is, talking about it, everybody is talking about it. Prabhupada said no. Prabhupada's father said no. I don't want my son to become a preacher. Okay. He taught his son when he was very small, Mridanga, because his whole idea was to prepare his son to be a great devotee. His focus was, along with all the care. So you see, it's very rare to get parents like this, very rare. Prabhupada therefore, when he writes this most beautiful book, what is the most beautiful book? Krishna. He is a great devotee of Krishna. So the most beautiful book is Krishna, where he has glorified Krishna with a art. 1,000 pages, nothing. Prabhupada said, this is my best book. And then he dedicated that book to his father, who was a pure devotee of Krishna, who raised me so nicely. And actually it is true. When you give real happiness to your child, he will never forgive, never forget you. But if you don't give him Krishna consciousness, if you give him other things, that animals also do. That kind of care animal also take care. Correct? There's feeding him, making him grown up. Therefore, we see why in the West particularly, there is no relation to the parents and children. There is no relation. Because they didn't give the child what they should really give as human being. What they gave, animals also give. There's nothing so, child doesn't feel so grateful. Okay? And they easily rebel. Because you didn't give them what they're hankering for. So now, let us come now to psychology. You know what happens? Here, something comes called consciousness. Something comes called even mind. And third thing called brain. Three things. And they make it one. They make whole thing one. Therefore, if you are in depression, you go to a scientist, he will give you sedatives. Because they only think neural work of the brain. We have to slow it down. Or if thing doesn't work, they will think like a computer. They will put 2 electrodes plus negative, put a shot, format the hard disk. That's the only 2 things done. Correct? Very dangerous. Therefore, I tell people, worst case, if you can go to a psychologist, they never go to a psychiatrist. Psychiatrist give the medicine. Psychologist at least will talking, okay. That's fine. Nothing will happen. In fact, what happened really? We had many times cases of devotees whose parents dragged them. It has happened in the West many times. Even it happened in Russia. Prabhupada went to Russia for 3 days. You know that? 3 days trip. You read about it? Yeah. And there he met, he was quite frustrated because they were not allowing him to meet anybody. He met a professor called Kotovsky and he had discussion with him. And then finally, that's like a intellectual discussion. He was, Prabhupada asked him, what happens after? After the Swamiji, everything is over. Prabhupada thought, like a man who would not listen. Okay, done. And Prabhupada was eager, to preach. He is an acharya, he wants to preach. Then what happened was that when his disciples were running around Russia to get, things, because they want to cook for Prabhupada. They want to eat outside. So he has run to get some milk, something, and everywhere there was a queue. Prabhupada was not very happy. He didn't find the country very opulent. Everywhere there is a queue for basic thing. Queue. To stand in queue. So they got the items, with great difficulty. And when they are coming to the place, one diplomat's son saw Srila Prabhupada. And he started talking, this all, in Russia, somebody with India had a good relation, so maybe a good embassy was there. That time India was like allied more with Russia. So, if somebody was Shikha and all, he was so excited, Indian boy, who is this? He said, you are where? Because nobody, there no religion in Russia that time. They said, we are following a great Acharya who's from India. Hey, can I come? Where is your place? So when he came, he brought a Russian boy with him. You read that? He brought a Russian boy with him. And when he came to meet Prabhupada. So when they talked to Prabhupada, Prabhupada was very happy. More was happy to see a Russian. We come to preach in Russia. He wants to talk to a Russian. In America, Prabhupada will talk to Americans. There are a lot of Indian community. And I will talk to them. That's the challenge. So then what happened? He was hearing a Russian boy. In 2 days, he surrendered to Prabhupada as a disciple. He heard. He said, yes, this is what I was looking for. Very fine. And then Prabhupada left that place. This boy started preaching in Russia. He created underground 100 centers in Russia before Russia came out of communism. And a revolution. A boy who has been preached just for 2 days. So, you know that?
I read it in some text online.
Yeah, he recently died, so there was a lot of obituary for him.
What's his name?
As an old boy, I'm forgetting his name. I should remember.
Even I read the name.
Then what happened was, from Germany they came to know about his activity. They started supplying him books. Many devotees like Harikesh Maharaj, so many sannyasis were preaching vigorously. Harikesh Maharaj, the one who made 100 centers in Western Europe. Very terrific preacher. Terrific preacher at that time. One of the secretary of Prabhupada, later he became a big preacher. So he translated books to all the languages. He printed books in Russian also. And through underground, they used to, underground in the sense, underground ways. In the car they will have false, just like you smuggle, everything gets smuggled. Yeah. They smuggled books, Bhagavad Gita, other books. And in Russia there was such a rush to read these books, hankering. They were taking photographs, because you are getting a book only for 1 day. Queue is there. You will get for only 1 day. In the queue. Your turn will come, you will get for 1 day. 1 day you have to do whatever you want to do. They'll read some portion, no time getting late, but they'll take photographs of the pages and read like that. Because it is banned. At that time you didn't have internet like the way you have today. If internet is there now, like in so many countries like Saudi Arabia, they say you can't carry Gita. It doesn't work, it's nonsense. You can always in the internet read it. Now these nonsense things don't work. This kind of pressure doesn't work. So anyway, so they did like that. And these people caught him. The Russian KGB caught him many times. And, they put him in a jail for 2 years, 4 years. And every time they caught him, they took him to a psychiatric lab. There they gave him all the sedatives, electric shocks, everything they tried to format his hard disk and to give some sedatives. It has an effect in the sense your body mind get both very disturbed, because mind is a subtle instrument. It is not soul, it is not the self. It is a subtle instrument, and you are trying to play with it, the connection between the mind and the body. Okay? You can't do anything in the mind, but you can disconnect the mind and the body. In the sense that, when we have the operation, what they do? They give some, what do? You give something, and I cannot feel the pain actually. Something you do. But they could not do anything with him. He still remained a devotee till he died as a devotee. But this had caused a lot of difficulty in his body and mind. In fact, he himself said, I will not stay full time. The moment the Russia thing collapsed, hundreds of temples were formed, and he was the hero. But he said, so much they have tortured my body and mind, I can't tell you. Mind was like beaten. Anyway, but he was a great well-wisher for the movement. So now the point is this, that they didn't understand there's a difference between body, mind and soul. Recently I heard a very nice explanation how to understand this. Just like you take a spherical object. Now you take the reflection of that object on a plane, you will see only 2 dimensions, even though it's a 3-dimensional object. Now this object, if you take another plane, you will get only 1 dimension. Correct? Even the thing will go over. So similarly, actually, consciousness is different from mind, and mind is different from body. And in the model that the psychologists are having, they're very difficult to account for consciousness. Previously, when the computers was not there, this was only a steam engine. because their only idea was steam engine. There were no computers at the time. There were no idea of computers. So what they thought is, sometimes they thought mechanical engineering when it started, they thought there's a place to cool the fluid. If you see a drilling machine and all, they have something called a cooling fluid. You see machine lab. When you drill, they constantly put a cooling fluid because the drill bit becomes hot. So they propose this is a cooling fluid that the mechanical engineering proposed. Some people thought this is a steam engine because it moves, hand legs move, so it's like a steam engine of it. Because what we made, we think we are that. We still, science is constantly evolving. So you can't be sure about this statement. Maybe tomorrow they will change this also. So this is the way actually modern day science proceeds. It's called ascending knowledge. Maybe you are coming near to reality. We are not denying that. Maybe you are going far away from reality. That is also possible. But the fact is this, that, so then is there any problem in this model? Yes. The biggest problem they have is that they find it difficult how things are actuated, initialized. Just like if I have this computer, I have so many programs in this. I have so many applications in this. I choose to actuate one of them. It's my choice. Then as it opens, then I start playing more and more. No, one more choice, correct? One more choice. They say the brain is just like a computer. Yes, it is. Just like a computer. We agree to that. With a lot of programs. But what is that which actuates, which chooses which program to do? And then within the program, again it may ask which value you put. Then this one you want or this one you want. So then they start then, even though remain, see the point is that, where yesterday we studied the foundation of God in the comparison of Vedic and modern. Now I will talk about consciousness to limit it. Maybe I have to improve on this, but just limit it. The whole Western science, what is called modern day science, is based on Western philosophy. So that is a mistake we do it in India. If you want to study science, you should study Western philosophy. That is the foundation of modern science. If you want to study science, we are not saying if you study Gita, you have to do that. No. But if you are studying Western science, yes, you have to go to the foundation, that is Western philosophy. In the Western philosophy, the concept of soul and God does not exist. Only Socrates had talked about it, but nobody developed it. That's it. Does not exist. When the soul and God doesn't exist in the very philosophy, then how do you think it will ever come in their science, either psychology or biology? It is not possible. It is not possible. So you cannot, using Western science, or you say rather the science which you know of today, using that, you can never prove soul. It is not possible. It is not possible. That will not help you to prove it. But I can just give certain kind of riddles to show us that maybe this is not the model I follow. Just like you go to buy a ticket, just tell you to take an example. And I say, whether the train goes to somewhere, I said, I'm not sure. Wait a minute. You want to buy the ticket? I'll tell you after some time. Hit Barthini. Stand out and say, Barthini. Shop you go. You got a doubt. Whether it will work, I don't know. I said, wait. So why is it the problem they're having? So the problem is that they somehow remove consciousness. Mind also, because they can't have the concept of mind that we are having in Gita. If you want to follow Gita, then you cannot just combine both of them. Then you have to come to this field. Then you have to see the fundamentals here. Then you have to proceed. Here you come, you have to take these fundamentals that are ontological facts. They have some ontological facts and axioms. Here we have ontological facts and axioms. We proceed this way, you proceed this way. You can't do half-half. So if you are following the modern science and you talk about consciousness, it is nothing but atoms colliding with atoms, nothing more. That's it. You can't talk anything. Maximum developed quantum, they talk based on quantum. There also they don't know anything. Because they are studying quantum also based on atoms and electrons. Again, that's why they are not able to understand it actually. Quantum field has come in a field actually which may bring both of them together. Because there what is happening is that particles are behaving different way when they are observed. The very wave of probability is collapsing the moment they are observed. And that brings consciousness. Consciousness doesn't exist in the mechanistic model the Western philosophy have. Therefore, 100 years they have not solved it. Unless, therefore, one leading scientist recently said, unless we do blood transfusion from the Eastern thought, we will never be able to solve it. Because they have to change their foundation. Without foundation, they can't talk. So they tend to put a mechanistic explanation. That's okay, to leave quantum now, because I'm not an expert at that. Let us come to consciousness. So their whole consciousness, all the models finally tend to atoms and electrons colliding with each other, nothing more. Correct? And mind is not electrons. It is something else. It is subtle material energy. It is not, and more subtler than the mind is. That's why I said no. The shloka, why I read the shloka. Krishna said the shloka. Yeah, this is a famous shloka. Indriyani pranyahu
Indriyani pranyahu
Indriyava paramam manah
Indriyava paramam manah
Manasastu parabuddhe
Manasastu parabuddhe
Yo buddhe parasastu saha
Yo buddhe parasastu saha
Indriyani pranyahu. That means senses are more important than the dead body. Indriyava paramam manah. More important than senses is the mind. More important than mind is the intelligence, and more important than intelligence is the soul. Intelligence is another energy, mind is another energy, and something more. The senses are also another. That's another. Senses are not like your Panchadhatu, it is something more. That I don't want to bring now, that will come to Sankhya then. That is very deep analysis. Now, actually what I am experiencing, my senses are interacting with sense objects. Okay, na? But senses and sense objects have been separated out as separate elements in 24 elements. That brings in Sankhya, that will start few hours of class. Now I'm just bringing the point that more than the body is senses. More than the senses is mind. Mind is higher. Mind is not the gross body at all. It's completely subtle energy. Correct? Therefore, that example is given in Kathopanishad. The horse is controlled by the rope, rope controlled by the driver, and the passenger is sitting. This is what is the way actually. My senses are like horses. They may like to go somewhere, but I should not forget I have a rope which is more powerful than the horses, senses. I can control if I want. Then the rope is controlled by the driver. Intelligence. So what happens when you mix all the three together? They can't solve any problems in society today. Therefore they say, what can be done? I can't do anything, you know. I'm young. Yeah. It is in my hormones. It is in my genes. Because they're mixing all the three things together. Body, mind, intelligence and the soul. All the four. Both. They make it one, lump one. Reflection, 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 reflection. What I said. When you have a three-dimensional object, you take that, you get this, then you get two, then you take one more, you get a point. That's what they have done. It's not that consciousness, see, the point is that, now let me go, what's the Vedic model? The soul has all the faculty. It has mind, it has intelligence, it has senses, it has even the form, everything it has. It is not. But presently, somebody has this question, can I, if this is the model, can I connect the mind to instead of this, this chemical brain, I can connect to a hard disk or some computer? Yes, provided it is shaped in that way. Just like you want to connect something, it has to have that input-output. It has to be able to handle it. Suppose I am a pilot, okay, I know how to drive an aircraft. You give me a car, I don't know what to do now with it. I know how to drive an aircraft. So the point is that the soul acts in a particular way, but you give it something medium. It has to connect to this body in a way. Just like you are connecting dock. So therefore, mind comes first in between. Intelligence comes, one subtle instrument. Intelligence, and then the mind comes. And then the senses are there. The senses give it desires, because senses interact with sense object. Correct? And there is this, anyway. The input goes to the mind. Maya is in play all the throughout, because in making sense object attractive for the senses, there is interaction. Illusion of enjoyment is created. That goes to the mind. Intelligence is there to discriminate whether I should actually be doing this activity or not. Krishna therefore saying that. This is higher. Higher means higher can always control the lower. He says that in the next shloka, you see. He says that. Thus, knowing oneself to the transcendental to the material senses, mind and intelligence, but should control the lower self by the higher self, and thus by spiritual strength conquer the insatiable enemy known as lust. So Prabhupada explains the purport. The whole program is sought. Just like when you go somewhere, your watch is following you, clothes are following you, everything is following you. If you, the higher self, decide to do the job, lower self automatically follows. Therefore, if the soul decides to connect to the Lord, intelligence, mind, everything is. That's why when you chant Hare Krishna, directly it's a pleasure for the soul. Mind, intelligence, all they shut up. Because finally they are subservient, they are serving the soul. Like, you go somewhere, okay? The boss says something, the king says something, correct? Or the CEO says, yes, agreement done. Or the prime minister of the country says, and other people have nothing to say. They are following him. They are lower than him. He is the disciple. The soul can take the prerogative, the privilege that I am the superior, then everything is done. Okay? The soul has the consciousness, and actually it is the real actuator. But today, it is like, so that job is done by the mind. Mind is actually like a dead instrument, but that job it takes, a subtle job it takes. And that starts playing with the brain. Brain is nothing but full of programs. Brain, the physical brain you're talking. There is a connection to physical brain and mind. See, just like they do heart transplant, they found out the person doesn't change. Correct? You can do leg transplant also tomorrow maybe. The person doesn't change. Correct? I am telling you one day you can do brain transplant. You see person doesn't change, then they will get a shock of their mind. We are different from this body. Because they agree, heart, lung, kidney, liver will change, but the person doesn't change. Correct? Even brain is changed here. Suppose your brain you take and put another brain, you don't change. That's what happens when you go to the next body. When you go to the next body, everything is different. You get a new brain, you get a new kidney, you get a new heart, everything different. You may be in an insect body or dog body, cat body, you get whole thing, different instrument. Correct? Just like you were driving up a plane, now you are driving a car. But what remains? You are same. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says you can always understand you are different from the body because your body is already changed. Your childhood body is gone. Your youth body is gone, just like for me. Now old age body is slowly coming. Okay? Childhood body was there, it's gone. Youth body is gone. But I remain the same person. So we can actually thoughtfully understand, actually I am not this body. True, it requires a lot of study, a lot of understanding. But first thing is that we have to make a decision from whom I want to learn and solve my problem. Just like suppose you want to get treatment. Just like I said I am having throat pain. I have to decide whether I want to follow homeopathy, I want to follow allopathy, I want to follow Ayurveda. That's my choice. But after I go in, I have to follow what the doctor says. I have to surrender to the doctor. I may ask for an explanation, but doctor will explain in his field, not in another field. We sometimes dabble in science a little because that's what everybody is following. So we tell a bit of that. But actually, the point is that if you want to understand that I am not the body, I am spirit, soul, you have to follow now in the Vedic line. You can't have two schools together. You can't say I am studying at a homeopathy doctor. What if I take that Ayurvedic medicine? Then I say go to him, no? You come to me. You come to me, now you follow homeopathy. Now how it works, I am going to tell you in my field, whatever they have. Right or wrong, that way you choose. Then why did you choose that? Okay? You got it? So So when we accept in the Vedic field, yes, this modern day science is just 200, 300 years. It didn't exist before. So they have their own way. It has its own way. And what is the way? Tadavidhi approach. Pranipatena, take shelter of an acharya. Pariprashnena, then a vikar. First condition is take shelter. Just like you go to a doctor. You make your decision whether to go to doctor or not. But after you go to doctor, you cannot say, he's there, give him injection. No, why I should get injection? Then why you came inside? Then why you came inside? You said I have fever, I'm saying, no, put him, you should immediately hospitalize, correct? You have to do an operation now. No, why you doing operation? Then why you came? When you come, you have to follow. Okay? So similarly, the Vedic line, there is first pranipatena. Prashna comes later. First is pranipatena. Yes, I accept. Then you will begin. Otherwise, you are still hovering. Prabhupada says, if you don't surrender, then you are like drinking a honey bottle by leaking outside. You are not opening the bottle cap. You are leaking outside of it. Correct? It's like many people say, why I should chant Hare Krishna? Start chanting. And you start chanting, you follow everything that is told, you follow. That's what the doctor also says. Doctor says you do all this thing you have to do. Then you say, yeah. You have no time to study medicine. It is so detailed. So similarly, the spiritual science is so detailed actually. To make an application, very few people can do. Therefore, Padma Purana says only 4 people can do it in Kali Yuga. They are listed. Either the Sri Sampradaya or the Brahma Sampradaya or the Rudra Sampradaya or the Kumar Sampradaya. 4 Vaishnava Sampradaya. That's it. Nobody. They have listed these 4 other Sampradayas to follow for Kali Yuga, and they are given the 4 Acharyas also. And the system is also there, just like I was explaining yesterday. If suppose, now I have to follow, means so much faith I have to put. So what is the system? It's like you go, I ask the doctor, what medicine I should take this medicine. Yes, a lot of systems are there. Therefore you can depend. What is the system? So first the medicine has to get approval from some big agency. That is for testing, not for application. Then after that, elaborate testing happens. So many ethics committees are there. They also evaluate. Correct? Every testing of the medicine is being observed. Any side effect is coming at animal level. Correct? First they do it animal level. Then it comes at man level. They do short-term testing first. Then they feel that there are no side effects. Any side effect is debated internationally. Then they go for a long-term trial. Then very long-term trial. 3 stages it goes through. Then after that, it is cleared for public distribution. So therefore, you can follow what the doctor says. Systems are there. So are there any system on the Vedic line? Yes. I had explained yesterday. Yes, you have to give a bhashya on Vedanta. You have to show that what you are presenting, what you are telling, the philosophy does not contradict the Vedanta Sutras. You have to show. Because this is a descending knowledge, this is not ascending knowledge. You have to show this knowledge does not contradict what the Lord says. Systems are there. Then after that, what is going to happen? All the contemporary acharyas will challenge if there is something wrong in it. You have to defend it. Just like a scientific paper. You can't speak first. You want to speak something, you can't speak. You have to first write a paper. It should get published first. Most of the journals will not even accept it. First it's accepted, then people will give challenges. Why you written all this? You have to defend all that. Then it becomes a standard. That's called peer reviewed. Peer reviewed. That's why some devotees are working with science. They are bringing out peer reviewed papers. Yes, you have to work. You have to play game according to their game. You can't go. In science, you can't go with descending knowledge. It doesn't work like that. It's an ascending field. Field itself is ascending field. They look for immediate cause. They are not interested in remote cause. Here they are interested in remote cause, ultimate cause. It's a different field. It works in it. It's a descending knowledge. So, but anyway, systems are there in the field. And then what happens when all the people have challenged, you have defended your thesis, then you can go and speak, not before that. Correct? So they have systems. But it works in this way. Tadavidhi, pranipatena. Then you can ask a question. Yes. Oh, Krishna says that I accept. Then I can ask a question, not before. Just like here, I gave an example yesterday. Suppose you're in a forest, you're trying to come out of the forest. One way the science way is their own field, which I am saying is our choice to follow. They will dig out a way which you want to dig out. Yes, that is one way of approach. And you go on. But we are telling you, never find a way out. Because it's a dense dark forest, you will be rotating like this only. Our process is, we will take information of somebody who knows how to come out. We are not going to find our own way out. And when we follow that, both systems have their own checks and balances. It's our choice which system we follow. But then, we have to accept the process. Okay. So therefore, there is a great, actually, here it is very clear. I give this an idea of the body, mind, senses, consciousness. As these four things are situated. Body is at one level. Senses are higher. Above the senses is mind. Above that is intelligence. Above that is soul. So nicely it is situated. So in this way we have to understand. And then Krishna is imploring him, knowing yourself to be higher than the lower, take charge. Control your lower by the knowing oneself to the transcendental. Sometimes people don't know what to do. I cannot control the mind. No, Krishna says you are higher than the mind. How you cannot control? Higher should control the lower. Higher always has the power to control the lower. It always has the power. It has to just decide. Therefore Prabhupada used to say, it's left to you. You have to decide whether you want to surrender to Krishna or not want to surrender. It's you can make the decision. And one should control the lower self by the higher, and thus by spiritual strength conquer the insatiable enemy known as lust. Okay. Krishna explained actually, this will destroy you. But sometimes what happens is that we think we will figure out. You know, many people say, you know, we will figure out whether this is good or not. You tell somebody don't drink, I'll figure it out. That's the way, because they are trained in science. That's the scientific. We don't find fault with them because that's the way science works. He's not trained in Vedic. Vedic system is different. Then that, I'll figure it out. They will drink it. They'll watch out whether it is good or not. But the problem is, you know, there are, even though you get disgusted with one variety of rum, then another variety, brandy is there. That let me try. Then the advertisement will come. This one you can drink, but you will not go in. So many ads for that. Let me try that. Then you know another one, actually nothing but ethanol only. Basic substance is ethanol only, which is very cheap actually. But they put some flavors and this, that, and government controls that ethanol, you know. For medicine, actually it comes to industry is very cheap. Very cheap. But you know, you take a bottle of that, the cost may be just like 5 rupees and you get for 5,000 rupees, you know, 500 rupees. The ingredient cost is very less. You're paying for the bottle, you're paying for that cover on the bottle, and you're paying for the advertisement and all the license, expensive license they have. They have to pay a really mountain to get a license to open a shop. You know, it's controlled. They all pay everything and bribe to local police and everything. That cost you have to pay. Actually, it's very small. But you may get disgusted by eating one variety, drinking one variety, enough. Tomorrow there will be one more variety. Look at it. Bottle color is different. Different flavor is there. Different doses is there. I was trying 8%. Now it is 11% ethanol. Let me try that. You are never going to end. But if you listen to an authority in the way, because they will not follow the system. Because they are used to that. You know, the system works like that. If the Vedic system is different. Here Krishna is saying here. Krishna is saying. It is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of the contact of the material modes of passion, later transformed to wrath, which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of the world. The Krishna is saying, this is your enemy. That's it. Krishna said, my enemy, I am not going to touch it. Just like doctor says, you are not going to eat that. Okay. You can't say, I say why. No. No means no. Here, the system is different. Try to understand. Krishna is saying, don't be with it. We have to train our mind. We follow the Vedic system. We have to train our mind to go into the system. There were sometimes I was, you know, chatting with my, now all of my classmates at this age, all have become philosophical and spiritual. Because they wanted to make money, they made enough. Now they are disgusted. You know, they have what is called mid-age crisis at 40 years. Many people have. Many have few have left their job, they don't want to work. They are out of job. They say enough money, no need to work. But they're feeling bored. And they don't know what to do, why to do. So I was chatting with them. I said, see, you should take like this. No, why? I'll figure it out. So you'll never figure it out, idiot. You'll never figure it out. Or 100 years also you can imagine. Except what Krishna is telling, follow this process. This is the way. You got it? You have to go from here to Nantur. You say take the straight road, walk. No, I will not listen to anybody. I'll figure it out. Figure it out. And take with this. Maybe it is below Nantur. How do you know? Maybe it is below. Take it. They will not accept any authority. Here Krishna is saying it's your enemy, over. Close it. That's all. Make a delete it out. That's all. I'm not Krishna. Correct? That if you can do this way, I tell you, you save yourself so much time. Deva Prabhupada made the famous statement. He said after thousands of Nobel Prizes, they will end where Bhagavad Gita begins. In psychology, after thousands of Nobel Prizes, they will come to this statement. It's ready. Tell me one psychologist who can tell to his patient, this is your enemy. They'll never tell. They lose the patient. They lose their business. They will never tell their patient. Forget all this. Sometimes it is painful there. Sometimes people hear us, it is very painful because we hit hard. But we know it will help them. Why? Because Krishna is saying. When Krishna says this, it may be a little painful. How Krishna is saying that? I find it is so pleasurable. Krishna is saying, it's your enemy. No from me. Jnana Vijnana Nashanam. Another place Krishna said, destroys all your knowledge, all your realization, to destroy everything. It is born of the contact mental passion, later transferred to wrath. It's all devouring, sinful enemy of this world. All devouring. But I am finding it so pleasurable. Actually, there is a completely contrast. Just like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, another place, this world is temporary and miserable. Dukkhalem ashashvatam. That's in the Vedic field, correct? This way we take from Krishna. Dukkhalem ashashvatam. Therefore, anybody following the Vedic field, I want to go to Vaikuntha. Because this word Krishna has said is miserable and temporary, correct? But it may be miserable, but I have mobile, I have TV, I can have some fun. Krishna says temporary also. So if he has a descending knowledge, he says, I don't want this. You don't want anything which is miserable and temporary. You don't want it. There's somebody, but what is the science trying today in the ascending way? It may be what will make for you this world permanent and pleasurable. That's why all election, they stand for election. You give me vote, I'll make you king. I'll give heaven to you within 30 days. Every election they speak this nonsense. 30 days I'll make you king. Give me votes. He'll become king. You will remain a pauper. The point was that actually even the scientists are similarly guilty like the politician. We keep criticizing politicians. They are in the same boat. The process is wrong. It's not that when a politician says that it does not mean it. I'm not saying all are bad. But he feels if I adjust this, it does not know whatever adjustment you do, it remains miserable and temporary. It does not know that. Does not know that. Because they are from the same Western philosophy. Same. One thing is politician, what all he is doing also is based on Western philosophy. And what the scientist is saying is also based on the same. Foundation is same. A scientist is also feeling some adjustment. Maybe we'll make some chemical tomorrow and we'll inject you, you'll never die. Correct? We're trying to search for a gene which is the aging gene. There are trees standing on the road for 5,000 years. There are some trees which live for 5,000 years. A very fantastic life they have. There are trees. You want a life like that? Why not have a moment of full consciousness? We are not interested. Therefore, Vedas are not targeting that. Vedas are never targeting you to have millions years of life. No. They are targeting you that this life, even though it's temporary, why not it be full of pure consciousness? Why not a moment of full bliss than million years of trouble? Which you will choose? Which you will, anybody will choose, correct? Why not a moment of bliss? So they are not focused on, in this material world, to have a long life. Never. Never. They are focused on, rather, how I can go kingdom of God and completely cut off this whole problem of birth, old age, disease. Okay, so it's something better analyzing these two things. Prabhupada ki